Hello, today I'm going to be asking one of the questions that one of my students asked me. He Googled online, how can he get better? And he found this result. It's like a paragraph, two paragraphs long. And he wanted to know if this makes sense. Do I agree with it? Because I'm his coach and I'll let you guys know what I think about it. So, first phrase, chess strategy is a complex subject that requires many years of hard work to master. Yes, of course, chess is a very complex game. It can take a lot of time to master, but the second phrase, however, learning a few principles can improve your play and help you win more games, which is very true. Some key principles in chess can help you become much, much, much better and really understand where to focus your energy. Because if you don't know these principles, you have all this energy that you're pointing and you're throwing in different directions. And it's going to be really hard to win if you don't know where to focus your energy. So with these principles, you learn how to focus your energy, how to focus your attention, how to focus your focus to win games, to get better and be the best that you can possibly be in chess. So here, after that, there was a few key ideas that are mentioned. So material count, piece activity, piece mobility, pawn structure, space, and king safety. Now, one thing that I see from this is that it's this message is geared kind of towards intermediate players at first, but then later in the message, I feel like it's more geared towards beginners players, which for me, I feel it's kind of incongruent. At first, you're talking to one audience and then you're talking to another audience, which kind of makes it a bit complicated for people to really, understand. Either if they're intermediate, they're kind of wasting their time with a few subjects, or if they're beginners, they're getting way over themselves with really complex ideas. So I'll break down which ones I think are more intermediate and which ones are more beginner. So for the beginner, we have material count, of course, very simple. I think at intermediate level, you should have completely mastered this already. Shouldn't really be too much of a problem. Then we have piece activity. Piece activity, this everyone can work on. I feel it's kind of both intermediate and beginner. Material count, I would say mostly only for beginners. Then we have piece mobility. Piece mobility, I feel like it's almost the same thing as piece activity, but it's a little bit more nuanced. And for that reason, I would put piece mobility in intermediate. Then we have pawn structure. Now, pawn structure, if you're a beginner, that's not something you have to worry about. That's really only intermediate. Pawn structure, that's if you're beginning, don't even think about that. I'll tell you, there's 3 things that I need to think about, and I'll tell you a bit later when we come to it in these notes. After that, space, if you're a beginner, forget about it. Only don't think about this. Only if you're intermediate, you can start thinking about that. And then we have king safety. That applies to everyone. So of course, if you're a beginner, you want to keep your king safe. Super, super important. If your king is in danger, well, a lot of bad things are bound to happen. So you want to keep your king safe. So that was for the key ideas that were shared. Then we have make sure that you know all the rules, en passant, castling, stalemate, and underpromotion, plus the value of each piece. So, of course, these are the basic rules. You should know them, but if you're a beginner, then yes, you should know them, but at the same time, the odds of this happening in your game are very, very, very slim. So don't worry about it too much. If you're an intermediate, you have to know these rules 100%. You've probably played enough games to really know these rules by heart. So I guess at the beginner, you can start learning them, but if you don't know all of them, you might get surprised a few times, but it's not the end of the world. You just have to keep playing. And it's not really the main skills. Yes, it's good, but meh, I'd say it's so important. But the value of each piece, that I'd say is very important, especially if you're a beginner, because you need to know when should you trade which piece and what pieces are better than others. When should you run away with your piece? When should you take a piece? That's really, really important because it's going to make really a big difference towards the end of the game. Then we have don't hang pieces and take hanging pieces. This I 100% agree with. This applies to everyone. This for me is the number one rule that I teach all of my students. It's super, super simple, super, super basic, but I think it's one of the hardest rules to implement. Why? Because, hanging pieces at the beginner level is just not allowing, not giving it for free to be able to take it in one move. But once you get higher and higher, it's, instead of hanging a piece that is going to be taken in one move, maybe it's a tactic that hangs it in 2 moves, or maybe in 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And, the higher you go, the more moves in advance you're kind of hanging a piece, the harder really it becomes. So I feel this is more of a universal rule. And of course, taking 3 pieces, if you want to win, you have to take your opportunity once it's presented to you, because that's really how you win. You see opportunities, your opponent gives you opportunities, and you just have to take them and win. Next, don't play blitz. Now, this is, I think, a very old school way of thinking about chess, of how to improve. From what I know, before the way that you should learn chess, that people would say that you should learn chess, was to play very, very slow games and analyze every single piece, how it moves, and really go far and deep in thought and reflection. And I think that kind of makes sense for the old time, because it really, it's gonna really refine the way you think, but also because the more you would think, the more you would say, okay, I made an error here, I made an error there. Plus, let's say, from what I guess, people would play chess for longer, games, because in general, chess at a high level is played, or at least used to be played a lot of with long format games, so classical games. Hence the name classical games. Very, very long. So the shortest classical game that you can play starts off with 30 minutes for you and your opponent. So the shortest amount of time this classical game could be is 1 hour. Imagine this, for 1 hour, you're only playing chess. Now, for my clients, for my students, and for a lot of people that I know, not everyone has 1 hour where they can only spend it on playing chess. 1 hour is a lot, and it's only for one game. So yes, you can do it. It is 100% a workout if you do it well, because you really have to be thinking every single second for that 1 hour about chess. And it's gonna help. But in modern times, I don't think that this is quite as true, quite as helpful for beginners. Why? Because we have computers now. We have stockfish. They can analyze your game and tell you exactly where your mistakes are. So instead of you spending minutes and minutes and minutes, maybe sometimes hours, to understand, okay, instead of this, I should have played this, you simply click a button, wait a few seconds, and the computer is going to tell you, okay, you made a mistake here, you made a mistake here, and you should improve it like this. And it also gives you a chance to replay the move and to try and correct your error. So this helps a lot beginners, because they make a lot of mistakes in blitz. Doesn't take a lot of time. Blitz games are 3-minute games for you and your opponent, or they could be also 5 minutes for you and your opponent. So as you see, not very long. At max, it could be 5 minutes for you, 5 minutes for your opponent. So that's 10 minutes in total. If you go a bit shorter, you can even do bullet games. So 1 minute for you, 1 minute for your opponent. So at max, 2-minute games. Who doesn't have 2 minutes in their life? Now, come on, 2 minutes in their life. I'm pretty sure everyone can do that to play a game of chess. Plus, it's probably going to take you 1 minute to 2 minutes to analyze the game with the computer. And you're going to learn a lot of lessons. Yes, you're going to make a bunch of mistakes. Yes, you're not going to be the best that you could play, but you're going to be playing at least, which is what's important. So you're going to be playing a lot, making a lot of mistakes, but also learning a lot. And that's really the key point. Making mistakes to analyzing them, to understanding what's the error, and then practicing again, and to try and avoid making the same mistake. And really just practicing over and over and over and over again. So that, let's say, if you ever decide to go back to classical games, well, you've practiced it so many times that you kind of just speedrun, you go further in your analysis much faster, just because you've made so many mistakes. You already know what to avoid, you know kind of where you should focus on, and that's why I think blitz is very important. Next, learn to combat scholar's mate. Now, this is beginner, really beginner. Scholar's mate is the first opening that we learn and how to combat it in my chess lessons, because, well, it's the oldest trick in the book. Of course, everyone's going to be trying to do the oldest trick in the book against you. You can even try it if you just started. I really like it, teaching it to young kids. Why? Because it's kind of the only time where they're going to be able to use it and it's going to actually work. But also, all the other kids are learning the scholar's mate. So if you're learning how to attack, you're also going to learn how to defend. So at least you're not going to be scholar's mated, and you might even scholar's mate your friends. Now, quick point, I don't teach the scholar's mate. I teach the parham attack, which I feel is a more of a dangerous attack for Black's point of view. But it's pretty much the same thing as scholar's mate. If you're interested in that, you can watch one of my shorts. I have a short on the parham attack. And finally, the last point that we have, learn how to checkmate a king with a rook and a king. Now this, I would say, is more in between of beginner and intermediate. It's like when you're graduating from beginner and you're starting to become intermediate is when you need to know this. Because it's a basic checkmate. King and a rook versus a king. It's not the most simplest checkmate. Two rooks and a king versus a king is a lot easier, and I would recommend really people to start learning with that, because that really is super simple, and there's a higher likelihood that you're going to face that in your games. For example, having a rook and a king versus a king, odds are way less than, well, from my personal experience, for beginners, because it's either you get completely destroyed or you're completely destroying your opponents. It's very rare that you have like one piece up of your opponent. So that's my thoughts. Let me know if you guys have any other questions. I'd be very happy to answer you guys. Any feedback, I'm definitely all ears listening to you guys. And if not, that's it. Take care.